No matter who you ask, there seems to be two different groups of people who are Star Wars fans these days. It's either those who absolutely love the old, the original version before Disney bought it, and are just semi okay with what's going on with Disney. Or it's the people who absolutely love the past and hate what's going on with Disney, but they both share one thing in common. It's that most of them love the original movies, and in the last couple years, it seems everybody kind of has fallen in love with the prequel trilogy, which it didn't always used to be that way. But one thing that I think that most Star Wars fans can come on a consensus on is that the Disney trilogy that came out did a really good job at punt kicking the Star Wars franchise in the nuts and then leaving it there to die. Successful movies at the box office, sure, but I mean, we can see that the successfully acclaimed projects that Disney has released as far as Star Wars isn't really stories that are focusing on moving forward. It's more of the stories that are focused in the past with past characters and past stories that we know and love. I'm talking about The Mandalorian. I'm talking about Rogue One. I'm talking about Kenobi. And I'm talking about Ahsoka. But what I'm not talking about are the movies that did a really, really, really good job at trying to destroy what has come before in service of moving on to the future. Now, to my knowledge, Kathleen Kennedy and the people who be working at Star Wars right now have decided to move forward with another trilogy, which is the correct decision, but a Rey Skywalker trilogy, even though Rey is not a Skywalker. Yeah. Now, before moving on with the video, I wanted to share my opinions on the Disney Star Wars things that have come out as of recent and what I kind of think about it. I thought that The Force Awakens was not without its flaws, but was a good step in the right direction as far as setting up that new trilogy. I thought that The Last Jedi, while it's one of the more beautiful looking Star Wars movies, and that's something that I love, did a really good job of drowning that entire trilogy so far into the ocean that there's no hope of swimming to shore. And they tried it anyway with the third movie, The Rise of Skywalker. And to me, that movie is the most egregious one of all. And it has left a sour taste in my mouth since. Kathleen Kennedy decided to make her own Star Wars trilogy. I believe it's Kathleen Kennedy, whatever the fuck her name is, who decided that this would be a good idea. But really, that whole trilogy, the theme of it was kill the past, move forward in the future, which is fine. And I agree that the new Star Wars trilogy should have found a way to move on to the future, but also incorporating elements from the past to help them get there, not let's get rid of everything from the past and then our third and final movie will yeah. It was a bit of a mess. Not all of it was their faults, for sure. Carrie Fisher's unfortunate passing certainly didn't make the creation of that third installment any easier on them, and I'm sure that was a lot of a reason of why it felt like a mess to begin with. But what I will never forgive them for is just the writing in general. I mean, it was a mess. Not a lot of likable characters unless your name is Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. But even as the main villain of the franchise, he had his flaws. Snoke, played by Andy Serkis. I don't know how you fucked that one up, but yet they did. Everyone's mad about the Luke Skywalker thing. Which, yeah, they should be mad about the Luke Skywalker thing. I know some people were mad that they killed Han Solo in the first installment to that new trilogy, but to me, that was always going to happen anyway because Harrison Ford doesn't like playing Han Solo. So that doesn't come as a shock to me at all, and I kind of understand it. But there's no moving on with the past. You can't kill this one, Kathleen. So how should Disney move forward and try to pull themselves out of the mud? Unfortunately, they've kind of buried themselves 6 feet under, but this is how I would save Star Wars. First things first, when it comes to the new trilogy, they didn't have to do this to themselves. George Lucas put up a script for them, or put up an outline for them to follow. They decided not to follow it, but even if they didn't, there were several things from the Star Wars Legends book that they could have followed that told a fantastic story of what happened after the Return of the Jedi, and what happens with Luke, Han, their children, the legacy of Star Wars, and how they move forward. And they decided to not do that, and they decided to create their own story that was focused on messages instead of storytelling. Yeah, so how do you move forward with that? You correct your mistakes from the past. It's very simple. Now, the Rey trilogy coming out, or the new Star Wars movies focus on Rey, I think that you should do this. And I'm not the biggest fan of Rey's character, and I think Daisy's a phenomenal actor, so I'm not blaming her for this. You can only do with as much as you were given. But she is the main character of the Star Wars universe right now, and you should... You should move on with her if you want Star Wars to evolve in any type of way. Now, they also shot themselves in the foot by killing Adam Driver and Kylo Ren. Why they did that, I have no idea. And the actor who plays Finn doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon. And Oscar Isaac, who plays Poe, doesn't seem like he wants to come back. So yeah, really set yourself up for success here. But I digress. Rey is still the main character. It would be more egregious to leave all that and leave her character out to dry and show everybody that you don't believe in it, instead of trying to fix and right the wrongs of the past. So what I would do is really focus on it. I think from the story, it's what I read, the movies are going to be about Rey trying to reestablish the Jedi Order. And how they should do that is take elements from the Legends books, take a villain from there. I know that they're setting up Thrawn in the Ahsoka series, which is from the Legends book. He's a great villain. I don't know what they ended up doing with Thrawn in the Ahsoka series. I didn't finish the Ahsoka series. I watched the Anakin show the Anakin episode, because the past Star Wars episodes are the only thing anybody cares about, and Anakin, we love him. So really, you should, in the shows, establish Thrawn as a threat who, in between the years, kind of went away, but now he's back in these new movies. And he's a threat. And he should be established as a dangerous, cold, calculating, menacing villain, not Adam Driver's Kylo Ren, who started off as menacing and destructive and dangerous, and then was turned into a whiny child within the first hour of the movie. You should not do that. Establish Thrawn as a threat. He's a threat. He's more powerful than Rey. Make him more powerful than Rey. Give Rey something to overcome, instead of just making her great right off the bat. That was the main problem with Rey's character, and why people didn't find her very likable, is that she was phenomenal right off the bat, and there was really no overcoming for her. And that I think that upset a lot of people. You should make this a little more adult. I feel like now it's Star Wars is a kid thing. It appeals to a younger audience for merchandising reasons, so you can't abandon it altogether. But I think that you should still make Thrawn, make him a threat. I mean, Vader was choking out his own fucking people, but never just because he was whiny and upset for no reason. It was always to serve a higher purpose. And I think that you should do that with the new Rey series. But really, that's what I would do if I was trying to save theatrical Star Wars in some capacity. And you're not going to get everybody on board. You're just not. It's going to be impossible. J.J. Abrams should not be directing these movies. Pick a new director. Anybody. Pick anybody else. Preferably somebody with a keen eye on storytelling. Pick that director and stick with that director for the entire thing. And never stray away from it. Trust his vision. Trust the writing. And hold on for dear life. This is going to be a gamble regardless, and there's no fixing it right off the bat. You just have to tell a really good story over the course of 3 movies and hope that you can get people back on board. You have to establish yourself a really, really destructive, menacing villain, and you have to make Rey likable by being able to trying to overcome her challenges, to overcome the threat of that villain. Now, for the people that you're not going to get on board right away, you have to make something for them. And I think that this is a really good way that you can correct the wrongs of the past. You need to make a new animated show. A lot of the people wanted the new Star Wars movies to bring back all the original cast of characters and put them all in one room and tell a story about them and them coming back together, because ultimately, to a lot of people, Star Wars was about the original cast of characters, and bringing those people back was the main draw. And you fucked that up, which is kind of impressive. Luke and Han never interacted. You never put all of them in the same room together, and that's extremely unfortunate and sad, and it sucks. But you can fix it in some capacity here. I think you make an animated series, and I think that you make it. I think that you make it about Star Wars Legends, and I think that's going to draw. I think that's going to draw pretty well. You bring back Luke Skywalker, who really isn't in enough Star Wars stuff as is, even though he was the main character of the original show. You can bring back Leia and Han via voice actors, and you can tell a Star Wars Legends story over the course of many seasons, because you'll never be able to bring it to the big screen. And I think that you can kind of cash out this way, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you get a different animation style than the Clone Wars was. I mean, you can do the Clone Wars animation style. Personally, I wouldn't, but I think you do an animated Star Wars Legends story, and you tell the story of Luke and his wife and his children, and how Han's kid becomes evil, and you just tell those books in show fashion, and I think you're going to get people on board, and I think that'll be really good. Now, another path that you can go if you really want to do live action. It's hard to do live action now because of what happened, but you could, and this might not be ethically right, but you could hypothetically make a CGI show where you bring back Luke in CGI form. I know Mark Hamill was down to do that. The issue is, doing it for Carrie Fisher, and I'm sure Harrison Ford would probably be fine with it. But doing a show where you kind of CGI those characters to look young, kind of like you did for Luke in the Ahsoka series, and I thought that looked pretty good. But you do a whole show about it. Something that I would do for that show that I think is really, really sick is I would have it take place immediately after the Return of the Jedi, and I would have I would bring in Starkiller from the games, who is now a Legends character, because he's technically not canon. I'd make him canon, and I'd make the story canon to your trilogy, your Disney trilogy, and this is about Luke, the son, and the son of Anakin Skywalker versus Starkiller, who is the apprentice of Darth Vader, who's trying to get his vengeance on Luke. And I think that would be sick, and I think you could tell it over a course of like 6 episodes. Now, again, ethically, you have to do the whole CGI thing and you have to get the right people to sign off on it. But I would watch it in a fucking heartbeat. Even if it looked wonky at times, I don't care. I think it would look sick. So that's how I would save Star Wars. Now, you can continue on with the Ahsoka stuff. You should do Ahsoka Season 2. Hayden Christensen should come back in some capacity. I think that you should bring back Ewan McGregor in some capacity, whether that's in show form or you bring them back as Force Ghost in the new Rey trilogy or whatever you want to do. But you're gonna have to rely on the past a little bit. But in order to move forward, you have to admit that we fucked up here, and we have to correct it. So that's what I would do.